Hello and welcome to our video on getting to know the extensions page on the Curo tenant. Here we can see a list of names, extension numbers alongside what connection they are using, from the app to a device. The app here is referred to as Globecom. On the top we can see two options, one to add another extension and one to download a .csv file, which will contain all the information below. We can also search through extensions using the search bar. If we select an extension, we are brought to a new page with all the information and settings for an extension, which we can edit or update. The first box we have is General Information. This includes the extension number of the device, followed by the title and name of the user of the device, the UAD, which stands for User Agent Device, which is a type of device they have linked. The next box we can say whether it's a remote device or a local device. We then now have line number, where auto-provisioning multiple extensions on one phone, extensions are then assigned onto lines in the order in which they were created in the software. The line field will allow customers to specify the extension line where this extension will be assigned on the device. For location, we can enter where the device will be, for example the second floor Office 2. We can also set a time zone for the user. We have user type, which gives certain features. Friends can make and receive calls, peers can only receive calls, while a user can only make calls. Well, that brings us to the DTMF box. DTMF stands for Dual Tone Multi-Frequency, which is a specific frequency consisting of two separate tones. Each key has a specific tone assigned to it, so it can be identified easily by the microprocessor. This is the sound heard when dialing digits on a touch tone phone. Each phone has a different DTMF mode. We now have the context box. Every system extension belongs to a certain system context. Context may be described as a collection or group of extensions. We now have the status box. The status box is the extension's status or presence on the network. This can help us prevent deleting and having to recreate it later on. On these options we have active, where the extension is active and it can make and receive calls. Not active, the extension is not active and it can't make or receive calls. Suspended, the extension is suspended and cannot make calls to numbers other than those defined as emergency services numbers. The music on hold field gives us options based on extension number, which is the hold music heard. We can now also choose if the extension is shown within a central directory on the desktop, the mobile app, or the monitor page. We then have a box for authentication, which contains the login information of the phone and for the apps as well as voicemail. We then have a separate section called Call Rating. These options are used for call rating of incoming and outgoing calls. The extension is assigned to a service plan and its call rates and additional call rating options are set here as well. The next box is Network Related. These options set important network related values regarding NAT monitoring and security. We now have a box for caller ID. The caller's name and number displayed here are sent to the party you call and are shown on a UAD phone system display. The information you see here is taken from the extension number and username. To set a different caller ID information, you'd need to go to the enhanced services. We now have options on call properties. These are to fine-tune incoming and outgoing calls. Settings such as your area code, how long your phone will ring for before it comes unanswered. We now have call group. These options define who is allowed to pick up our calls and whose calls we are allowed to pick up. The next box is default trunks. These options enable extensions to use custom default trunks for all outgoing calls. The call control options are set for a number of simultaneous incoming and outgoing extension calls. We're now on the top right column, which brings us to our voicemail options. We have speaker page auto answer. These options allow the caller to use a UAD in a public announcement system. If the UAD fully supports this service, the call is accepted automatically and put on a loudspeaker. Codecs. Codecs are used to convert voice signals from analog to digital and vice versa. These options set preferred codecs used by the extension. Something to know here is the Opus codec will be the default codec when dialing from the mobile app. The next box are for the options for jitter buffers. A jitter buffer is a temporary storage buffer used to capture incoming data packets. Hot desking is the automatic logout time for In hours for devices, we now have call recording options. Auto provisioning, these options enable the Curo IP Tenant to automatically provision the UAD phone configuration files automatically downloaded from the Curo server. And finally, the last option simply notifies you of whether a device presence is enabled or disabled.